and Kathy's a co-host. Could you please make Sue a co-host, Jeremiah? You take your shoes off, please. Thank you. All right, we are live. Beautiful, beautiful. Welcome, everyone. It's John and Carlos here. We are talking about something really amazing going on in our communities right now. And this is all around the world, but we're here in Clearwater, Florida, and we want to discuss a really important subject. What is it, Carlos, that we're going to be discussing today?
So there's going to be some, all around the world, we're doing these global conferences that talk about building community wherever you are. And, you know, the Baha'is have sort of a systematic way for building community. And we want to talk about sort of what that's about, that society building, community building, spiritual way about sort of working together to grow spiritually, to grow the community, and how we do that.
So this is all together. This is pretty much the whole community that includes everyone in Pinellas County, everyone in Hernando, Citrus, right?
Yeah, it's mainly Pinellas County for our area. And then if you know Hernando and Pasco as well.
Cool. So this is for all of you that are able to join within this area. We'll be releasing some conference details later, but we just want to get right into what is this conference about? What are these global conferences about? What is the process that we're talking about? How are we going to move forward? What's going on? So I just wanted to welcome other people who are joining us right now. We have Kathy Hogenson. Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Great. Thank you, John and Carlos.
Well,
hello, everybody.
We're so happy to have you here today. And I see that we have a few other speakers popping on in addition to yourself. We have our friend Alice and Susan. Whichever one would like to unmute first, by all means, say hello.
Hi, John. Sandra here.
Hi, Sandra. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Looking forward to today.
Thank you. We're happy that you're able to maybe share some beautiful news from your conference with us. We appreciate it.
Hi, John. And
hi, Susan.
Everyone.
Hi, John.
Hi, Alice. So we have here our wonderful speakers, and this is going to be something that is a bunch of us participating together and really today, right now, learning in some ways and also teaching others in some ways what we're about, what we're going to be doing, and what we plan on doing moving forward. So I have some materials that Jeremiah here in the background has pushed my way, and I'm going to be sharing my screen so that we can all look at this together. Can everyone see this beautiful PowerPoint? It's actually a PDF, but.
Yes, we can see it.
Beautiful. And Alex, welcome. Alex here is one of our wonderful speakers that will be with us sharing as well his input. And we're very, very thankful that you're here with us, Alex.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here and to learn together about this exciting conference.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I do want to mention that part of the time after we've gone through is going to be used for how are we currently, like who have we reached out to and who will we be practically, how are we going to be reaching out to more people in order to involve the greater community in this process.
Thank you for that. So what is the fundamental basis of where we are here? Why are we here, and what is our modus operandi? Like, what do we believe about every human being fundamentally? Baha'u'llah states that the purpose for which mortal men have from utter nothingness stepped into the realm of being is that they may work for the betterment of the world and live together in concord and harmony. He has revealed teachings that make this possible.
John?
Yes. Hi, Tony. Welcome. and here's another one of our wonderful speakers, Tony, and we got Daryl in the background there. Thank you, Tony, for joining in. Your sound is completely not there, Tony.
Okay, I won't say we're having technical difficulties and I won't be able to continue to join you. I just had to. So, yeah. Sorry about that. And sorry I'm late. But we have to break down some things before I could come on. I'll just say that.
Yeah, Tony's modestly telling you that he has a big event that he does at 10 a.m. every Sunday, and it's open for everyone to join. And this event he hosts is something that he streams online, which will be, as we have been here streaming, we will be streaming the next session, which was today, online shortly. So thank you so much, Tony, for being here, given that you just stopped another big program. So thank you.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I usually don't get to join you guys, so this is a real treat. So I get to just sit on the side, right?
Well, we love your questions. So please, questions and answers, they're pretty good.
Out of curiosity, why did we not stay on that first quote?
Oh, you tapped the screen, so I assumed you wanted to.
No, I wanted to go back to the first one.
Okay. So here, let's go back to the first one.
I mean, if we're not going to discuss this, then why share it?
Yeah, that's fine. Right, here we are. Here's the first one. Or you mean the very first slide here?
No, this one.
All right, cool.
So I think that this is something which we can probably, discuss because this is part of like what these conferences are about. I think this is a good point to start. And if anybody wants to start, speaking about what this quote sort of means to them.
Well, me being the latecomer, I will say this. I've seen this quote before. Baha'u'llah states that the purpose for which I'm assuming you all have already read it before I even got into the Zoom stream. This seems to me so, I don't know, simple and yet so profound. And it seems like we keep getting it wrong. How do we start getting it right? I guess is my question. How do we start getting it right? And I don't claim to have any answers because I don't have any. Well, I have my presumed answers, but I really would be interested in hearing, how, I guess, maybe how does this quote connect with, all of these conferences and so forth that are being discussed?
I don't mind rereading it just for those that have just come in. Baha'u'llah states that the purpose for which mortal men have, from utter nothingness, stepped into the realm of being, is that they may work for the betterment of the world and live together in concord and harmony. He has revealed teachings that make this possible.
This is Charmaine from Jacksonville.
Hi, Charmaine.
And,
Hi, Charmaine.
Good morning. I think what I pick up from this is in the planning of our conferences. In the planning of our conferences, we need to keep in mind an outward approach, an outward-looking approach, that we have been instructed by the Universal House of Justice and by National to actively seek out our brown brothers and sisters. And so I think it's very important that that is kept in the forefront of all of the planning for our conferences. So that's kind of what I pick up from reading this.
Yep. So
I have a question. And I'm not just trying to play devil's advocate here. I want to make that clear. But so much of this seems so like such a daunting task. Like such a daunting task. When we look at, all you have to do is look at the news. Look at what we're being presented. Look at what people are doing, whether they be in high places or low places. And here we are given this particular quote that obviously says, that the purpose for which we're created is far, far, far removed from what we witness on a regular basis. And so it's easy to feel, I think, overwhelmed. And if not overwhelmed, maybe even feel that, there's not much I can do.
So, yeah, no, I think that that's a valid concern. And there's actually a couple of things I could probably say to that. So one of the things which we can think about is, first of all, this is happening all over the world. And if we're ever to be building communities, we have to start where we are. And otherwise, we think about things in such a way that it's so daunting, and yet we have to do something. So the thing that comes to mind is, like, we have guidance from the Universal House of Justice that, whenever we share something of a concern, that perhaps we should check the guidance. Like, whenever we feel negative, we refer to the guidance. And, we have these, we do have places where we can go to find these answers, and then constructively say, like, okay, there's this concern or this problem. Okay, the writings say this about that, so let's take that and move forward with that. The purpose is just, creating that unity, but that is a difficult thing. That is a years, centuries thing. But right now we have a plan, and that plan is for right now, and we need to focus on what it is that we're being told we need to do.
Okay.
And, yeah, I hope that that's helpful towards not making this so daunting. Let's focus on this conference.
I appreciate that, Carlos. Thank you.
So it kind of flows into this, where we really want to help build a society. We want to work with our brothers and sisters who are in our wider community, and we want to build a society that consciously pursues the collective purpose of humanity. And we understand it's going to be over generations, and really we are welcoming everyone in our whole community to take part in this process. We want everyone that we know, our friends. It doesn't matter who they are, as long as really, I guess we have some relationship with them where they know who we are, and that we kind of have an understanding, so they're not just coming in not knowing what's going on. But at the very least, it's a very good idea to invite our wider community. Why we're here today is to explain, in one sense, to ourselves and to our community why we want to embark on this process together and share in a common purpose for the common benefit, the common weal of mankind, of humanity. And this starts at home. So there's a saying that some beautiful people in other international programs will say, and I'd like to bring that here into our group and say, we want to act locally, and while we act locally, we want to think globally. So I think with that in mind, with global reach of our local initiatives, I think we can definitely think of this. Like right now, we're going to ask Sandra, you have your hand raised. Thank you for joining us here all the way from the United Kingdom.
Yes, hi. I'm delighted to be here. I love the things that you, the talks that you host and such. I just wanted to say that for me, the essential purpose before concord and harmony with other people is that we are created to know and love our Creator. And when we love our Creator, we then have more of an ability, I think, to love each other.
Yes, definitely. And that's a whole beautiful subject. The idea of loving everyone for the sake of God and not for themselves. That's a huge concept. And I mean, yes, I think that's very beautiful. I think a lot of people of different beliefs also would, I think, identify with that concept that there's this central creator that created all of us, and everyone has a purpose in this world. Everyone has a reason to be created. That's very beautiful. There is a question now about what we're going to talk about here and moving forward, and how are we going to build these vibrant communities in our local community. If you could, yeah.
So it means learning how to raise up vibrant, outward looking. Actually, I do want to read this second quote, and then we'll move to this one, because there is something important in there.
Sure. Okay, hold on. There we go.
All right. Building a society that consciously pursues this collective purpose is the work of not only this generation, but of many generations to come. And Baha'u'llah's followers welcome all who labor alongside them in this undertaking. So, you know, this is about community building, and you can't do that without the community. So,
yeah, here I got you. So we got Jeremiah admitting people. Okay.
Tony, yeah, did you want to say something?
Okay, Tony, you're muted. You want to unmute? Let me see. There we go.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the king of dumb questions, but I still believe it's better to sound dumb than to remain ignorant. And I'm very serious when I say this. The word vibrant, it doesn't completely befuddle me, but I honestly do wonder, because this question seems a little lame to me, but I wonder what a vibrant community looks like. And let me kind of qualify my question. I sometimes feel that sometimes when some people may feel they're already in a vibrant community, but the cynic in me sometimes feels that people that feel they're in a vibrant community are often in a closed community that is kind of exclusive and doesn't necessarily allow others in, because whatever it is they've accomplished, they feel that they have to protect it and limit it and make it exclusive to themselves. And so, I don't worry about the word vibrant, but I do wonder, okay, and this is, again, it's simple, but maybe not so. You know, what is a vibrant community?
So I think to speak to that is actually probably one of the most important questions we need to be exploring for building community, because without that, we don't even have an attraction to be giving. So vibrance comes from so many different things. And I think the arts is something which speaks to that very highly. And the reason I bring this up is because in every space which I have been, where people are unified in their vision, there's aspects of it that allow us to come together. And so, for example, in the book 2 effectiveness space, everything started with the book. It was drumming, it was singing, and everybody wanted to do it. And everybody wanted to be a part of this process. And what that did was it created a space for learning. And there's other places where this has happened, but where we have that sort of effectiveness, learning it just comes right after, and it becomes a part of the process naturally. And so the vibrance is, if it isn't there, I actually think that no community building will occur. There are actually many aspects which are needed, but vibrance is definitely one of them. If anybody else had anything to say.
Keely defined vibrant as full of energy and enthusiasm. She looked up in a dictionary. And Tony says, thanks, Keely.
So what I would actually like to say is that for this conference, we have an entire arts committee, and we're going to be helping to make sure that there is some level of music and arts incorporation throughout this, so that at all times we feel engaged with this process as we learn.
I would just like to also add too, and this is just something for us to consider, that while we are in the stages of planning, I think this is very important when we should invite our African American community, Latino community, whoever are the brown people in your area. This is the time when we should invite them to participate in the planning part of our conferences. That way, they feel ownership in it. They will see how the Baha'is consult together. They will see the living. We would put clothes on what we say. We would put clothes on what we are doing. So I think this is very important, that we invite people during the planning phases of it, and not just invite them as a guest, but invite them as planners of this event, of the conferences.
And that is such a practical example that we need to be thinking about when we're inviting people, and how are we doing that? By raising vibrant communities that are contributing to spiritual and material progress. Excuse me. It means learning how to raise up vibrant, outward-looking communities. It means those communities learning how to bring about spiritual and material progress. It means learning how to contribute to the discourses that influence the direction of that progress. There's a lot to unpack here, but I think it ties so nicely with this idea of outward looking, like looking at the community as the people that are driving this force forward.
And I think this is about a good time to actually share a glimpse from our friends. Jeremiah, you could please share your screen and put on the nice video that we have. Jeremiah?
Yes, sorry, give me 1 minute.
Okay.
1 second.
Okay.
While we wait, is there anything that we want to discuss on this particular thing? And what are our thoughts about this section?
Tony.
I feel like I'm hogging the discussion, but Charmaine said something that really kind of piqued my interest. I fully agree that we need to include others. But I will admit that I'm one of those people that has probably fallen into the I'd say the lifestyle that so many people do in this area. Maybe I shouldn't speak for others. I would say that, my activities are pretty limited, and the people with whom I have contact seem limited. I'm one of those people that is, pretty predictable. I, just have a few places that I go, and then I come home. And yet now it has suddenly become much more important that we connect with others. And I guess the question in my mind is, again, another simple question, but how? How do we go about doing that without seeming, now that I want something, I'll talk to you. How do we, be truly, show real concern and I guess, how do we start these discussions, these conversations that would feel organic and not manipulative is the question. And I know that's a lot to unpack, but I think I don't think I'm unusual in not really connecting with people, and yet crossing paths often with people every day, but not really connecting. Is it really just a matter of, okay, you got to turn on your connection switch. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to start, talking to people that you might not otherwise, acknowledge or at least not engage in on a deeper level.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that you first start out with people that you have had connections with, those people who allow their children to come to children's classes, those people who have attended some devotional gatherings in your community, those individuals that might be your neighbors, some type of relationship you have had with them. Because to invite them in at the beginning of the planning, that is a respect for their opinions. You have respect for their contributions that they may make. And so you have to look back on any organizations that you have had contact with in your community and make an effort to bring them in. Any individuals, make an effort to bring them in. And people will come. They will feel genuinely that you want them to be there on the planning stages of it, because you're asking for their sincere opinion. You have not planned at all, and then at the last minute, asking them to come to offer a prayer, and they weren't in on anything else. So.
Good point. So we have Keely who raised her hand.
Yeah, Keely is actually Jim. This is the Pinellas Assembly's
Hi, Jim.
admin account, and I have it on my phone so that I can quickly give people co-host or host opportunities on our thing. But I agree with just about everything that Tony had said, and the comments after that, except for the phrase of all of a sudden we are expected to do this. The House has been telling us to be involved with like-minded communities or organizations for decades. I think I remember it either in the late 70s or early 80s that being mentioned. And, I blame myself for not getting involved at the time, and then working too hard, working too much, localized, in the community itself, in the Baha'i community, and not being outward working. And then health issues become a problem, other work issues become a problem, and then you just don't even get involved in these like-minded organizations. And so it becomes all of a sudden, because I've let too much other stuff get in the way, even though most of the stuff is service to either family or to the faith. So we have to strike that balance to get out to be among like-minded organizations, like Sue Wishworth does on a regular basis. That's my only comment. Sorry.
Oh, that's important. You mentioned this. Thank you for sharing that. And actually, we kind of are leading into this video, which Jeremiah's going to play, that will kind of show how it's been put into action elsewhere and gives a glimpse of what we plan to do here.
Yeah, so the conference is, they're gathering people together from all walks of life, really trying to bring people together in a sense of collective vision to see how we are affecting change in our societies, in our communities, on various levels, all the way down from the bottom, and really to think about where we've come from so far in the terms of the society, building power that we have that's inherent within the faith, and how we can progress that forward.
There'll be a plenary and some large and small breakout rooms, and then in the breaks you can meet new friends. There will also be films and lots of creative activities for young children and junior youth.
really excited about the conferences because it's going to be such an amazing opportunity for thousands of people, well, in the UK and across the world to come together and kind of just celebrate how far we've come in the last 100 years in the advancement of humanity.
The purpose of the conference is to think about how we can prepare ourselves for the next 9 years. We have this new message from the Universal House of Justice, which is helping us think about releasing the society-building power of the faith, and we'll have an opportunity to reflect on what this means in our own communities and in our own localities.
Anybody who come into our activities, devotional, we're inviting everyone. At the same time, we are beginning to talk to our neighbors, those who we haven't been invited to any spaces before, to invite them to share this, beautiful experience together. The invitation is to everybody, in our community, our friends and family. And so we are looking at everyone to be actually invited into this space.
کیو به کنفرانس دعوت کنم؟ من خودم یه مادرم و دوست دارم دوستام که مادر هستن و بچه‌های کوچیکشون رو به کلاس‌های اطفال میارن دعوت کنم تا اونام از این فضا استفاده کنن و دست به دست هم با همدیگه برای تربیت اخلاقی و روحانی بچه‌ها قدم برداریم، چون اونان که دارن آینده ما رو میسازن، آینده این دنیا رو.
Anyone can come to the conference. It could be a friend that you've known for many years. It could be someone you just met on the street. It could be a parent, someone who's in a children's class, for example. It should be anyone who you come into contact with, you feel a love for them, and of course, actually, this is something for anyone to attend. Everyone wants to come.
I have a lot of family members that are yet to even be introduced to the faith in a certain way, and it'd be a great opportunity to invite them and understand, what my life is and what it's about, what we're trying to achieve.
One of the things about this conference is that we can come together and reflect and celebrate how far we've come and where we're going. One of the ways we will be doing this is using the arts. However we want to express it. It could be poetry, it could be music, it could be drama. For example, Baha'u'llah's vision for humanity has inspired me. Every age has its own problems and every soul its particular aspiration. The remedy the world needeth in its present day afflictions, can never be the same, can never be the same as that which a subsequent age may require.
So hopefully have some thoughts on the video.
Well, it was fantastic.
I agree.
Alex, we haven't heard from you, so let's hear what you have to say first.
Okay. I was going to say the video was great. I had not seen that before. It was excellent. It makes me feel excited, to attend this conference. And I know that there's a sense of we're wanting this to go well, and there's a sense of maybe feeling a little overwhelmed and so forth. And I get it. And at the same time, this is about love. We're learning together how to build these vibrant communities, what it means. So I guess I'm wanting to say, let's bring the enthusiasm that we have for it. Let's try to, keep that out front as we're endeavoring to make this happen. So that's one thing. And the other was, I noticed when I logged on to the Zoom, to this meeting, John and Jeremiah have put a number of websites right there, which I think would be very beneficial. There's a lot of resources there for us to gain insight. So that was, I appreciate that you did that. So
Sandra, before you go, I just want to call attention that there's the 2 links he mentioned that are really important. Well, first, clearwaterbaha'is.org. People are coming to this meeting through that. We have shared a website, Building Pinellas. We'll be talking about this later in the PowerPoint and later in the talk as well. But buildingpinellas.com or buildingpinellas.org, it will take you to the same place for the global conferences. And this is our local initiative, Building Pinellas. So we'll get into that. But yes, definitely, Alex, thank you for sharing. That's what we're trying to do, to bring people together to a common place to be able to know what's going on, period. Thank you for that. And Sandra, speaking of which, because you're from the United Kingdom, this video kind of came from there, and you may have some insights on this that you could share with us, please.
I really loved the way the arts was emphasized. Unfortunately, my carer came just at the start of the video, and I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, sadly. Sorry about that. But I really liked what I saw, and I just remember thinking, gosh, if this was presented to me, I would immediately want to sign up, because it was done so engagingly.
So let's see, Ralph, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, now you mentioned the word, you know anything about the Bible, you list the Wade Francis, or not Wade Franson, and Mark Oliver. So what I'm talking about, you know the book of Ecclesiastes, right? It talks about purpose.
Yeah. So Ralph, this is a different meeting. I appreciate it.
The point. I actually went to a conference 40 years ago in Montreal.
Okay.
And Maria Ganoum was there. And so were other Baha'is, but there were also the Canadian Mounted Police. And, you know, in Iran, there is a case. You know, still the situation still the same there. The Baha'i community is under attack. But in the year I went there, the whole community, the whole Baha'i community around the world come under attack. Because there was a threat against reaction. And the Native Americans actually did the Thunderbird that rained around the velodrome. But I joined the Baha'i faith because I asked them, we use the word Qur'ana. You know who Mujan Mumin is?
Mujan Mumin, yes.
Remember he talked about the fight in Iranian religion? You ever see the video?
Possibly.
There's a word called, it's an old Persian word. It means Qur'ana. It means purpose, welfare, well-being, fortune, glory, splendor. And Mujan Mumin said that Baha and Qur'ana are 2 words for the same concept. So it's a matter of finding a right view of our Qur'ana. And in Zoroastrianism, there's the individual Qur'ana that goes all the way up to the national Qur'ana. And above the national Qur'ana is the world Qur'ana. So Red Grammar, remember the song, This Land Is Your Land? You ever heard that one?
The one that goes, this land is your land, this land is my land, that one?
He had a very interesting paradigm shift from the national Qur'ana to the world Qur'ana, because you know how it started out. This land is your land, this world is my world, this my. Did you ever hear the video?
Possibly. Red Grammar is an amazing musician that everyone should check out sometime.
Florida, but I went by in Portland, and Baha'u'llah warned us about, you know, like Christ said, don't cast your pearls before swine, as Zoroaster said, you know, curry favor the many wicked, for you make enemies of all righteous men. But you remember what Baha'u'llah said. Don't scare their pearls with givings for every barren and dumb one.
Yeah, Ralph, actually, I like what you said about what Red Grammar's what's it called?
Red Grammar's song.
Yeah. You know, we should be outward looking towards what we're, you know, inviting the greater community and that sort of thing. And but I think it's probably a good time that we move on to the next topic. Thank you for your input. So I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
So Kathy, would you be, if it's okay, would you be willing to kind of read off of here and give your thoughts on this?
Unmute.
There
All
we
right.
go. Yeah.
Amazing, vibrant communities that are contributing to spiritual and material progress. A vision of personal and collective transformation occurring simultaneously, founded on study of the Word of God and an appreciation of each person's capacity to become a protagonist in a profound spiritual drama, had given rise to a sense of common endeavor. So this whole process that has been going on for 150 years really got ramped up about 25 years ago. And now as these conferences are hoping to ramp it up even further. The Baha'i faith does not have clergy. Every one of us is responsible for our own spiritual development and for the improvement of the world around us using what we have learned from the teachings of Baha'u'llah and the Bab. And so this is what we're about. We also know that this is the time to work in groups and that we are much more effective when we work on our own spiritual development with others and when we work on the betterment of our community collectively. And so whether one is a enrolled member of the Baha'i faith or not, it doesn't matter. We all have souls. We all belong to a worldwide mankind, humankind, and it is irresponsible to improve ourselves and be responsible for improving the world around us. And so this is what these conferences, the vision of them is about, to enhance that process. And this is the beginning, not the end. This conference is coming up because while we hope that it will spur many people to think more deeply about both their own spiritual development and the world around them, we will continue this process. There may be other conferences in the future that will be similar to the one that we're going to be holding in May, but it's all process. It's all process. And we all are responsible. We are all protagonists. We all need to take ownership. And that to me is what is very exciting. We now have all of the tools in place to really make this happen much more rapidly. It starts one heart, one street, one neighborhood at a time.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know that we have Susan and we have Tony here. Of course, Alex, you presented a good point.
And then, of course, I'd like to hear Sue's thoughts. If do you have any thoughts, Sue?
Yes, I do. I first thought is responding to Tony's points about the overwhelmingness of reaching out to people and finding this unity among people. And my first thought is that it is really does start in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Is probably the most challenging of anything, to find enough like-minded people in the neighborhood. But in fact, I think that may be our challenge and what we need to work on. On the other hand, or in addition, I'll say not on the other hand, I want to speak to Charmaine's and Tony's points about how do we find people who are, if we happen to be in a very homogeneous neighborhood, not much diversity, how do we locate people that we can become friends with, that we can have relationships with in communities, to learn about, this like-mindedness enough with others. And Jim mentioned about the organizations. I know I belong to way too many organizations, but the idea, my motive is to make friends. I don't think you can have too many friends. have relationships with people.
Mhm.
And I have found, interestingly enough, in some of these groups that I belong to, I find people, some of the same people show up, on these Zoom meetings. So although it's not in the neighborhood, it's in the county, people that I can begin to have a relationship with, and am now that we are opening up a little more. So those are some of my thoughts about this idea of how do we find the people to have relationships with.
Yeah. I think actually Charmaine has been on point with everything she said about how we practically do this. And I'd love to hear more from you, Charmaine, and your experience in how we go about doing that from your community or from your own individual endeavors.
Well, I think that we have developed relationships with some of the African American churches in our area. And because of that, we can reach out to the ministers that have participated in, they participated in our race unity workshops that we had. And so, so that's a source that they will come. And when the minister comes, he brings the choir, and the choir can participate in the art part of our conference. There are other organizations that fight for justice in our community, such as iCare. We have a relationship with them, and so they can be invited to the table to either present something at the conference. So it's relationships, as Sue has mentioned, that have already been developed, that we have touched. They have participated with us in some way. So it's not like they've never heard of us before. So it's just going back to those organizations and relationships that we have already established and bringing them in the planning phase of the conference.
So the thing about this is like we should be starting to think about kind of like, who are we in connection with right now?
Yes.
And from there, have we reached out to these people about this conference and had a conversation about it as friends? So I love that you're even talking about bringing in the arts, and there's both planning for the arts and there's spontaneity with the arts. And Anthony, speaking of arts, what is it that you have to say on this matter?
You mean about art?
Or anything.
Well, Tony, you're a guy who's a public speaker. You teach public speaking, and art of spontaneity, in one sense, planning together from nowhere in one sense, but also you are very clearly able to practice before you perform as well. So you see the different sides of being artistically inclined. You don't have to be per se artistically inclined to spontaneously work with other people and maybe sing something that's very beautiful. You don't have to have a real singer's voice to do some things together.
Bob
Stuff
Dylan
like that.
proved that a long time ago, but for the old folks in the room, everyone can relate to Bob Dylan. I was just thinking, based on what a couple of people have said about, there's something that I know I myself have probably not been really conscious of, and that is simply those people that I really do have some type of history with. Regardless of the nature of the relationship, as long as it's generally positive, there are a lot of people in our lives that I would, maybe I should just speak on a personal level, that I have history with. And yet, I'll admit those people don't come to mind in relation to these conferences, and maybe they should come mind, because as I was listening to everyone talk, one of the things that I became very conscious of was how many different groups of people that I know that they're kind of compartmentalized. I got my gym friends, I've got my Baha'i friends, I've got my work friends, and probably a couple of other little groups I could put in there, a few of my neighbors that I actually do talk to. But it is rare that the subject matter it varies, among those groups. The gym group is very, very social and, kind of crazy and, based on whatever is the activity that we're involved in. The Baha'i groups, you folks, of course, it's Baha'i stuff, spiritual stuff. The neighbors, it's about whatever, but it is rare that I will get outside of what I feel is my comfort zone and talk about in one particular group about something like this that I don't already have. I may have history with them, but I don't have history that for me makes me feel comfortable about this. Well, that's on me. I have to go ahead and first of all, a lot of whatever is the lack of comfort is usually self-inflicted. It's not always based on reality. It's based on, I would dare say, some fear about someone reacting either negatively or whatever. We emotionally invest in some outcome in a negative outcome that hasn't even occurred. And at least for me, I think it has kept me from approaching, maybe that's not even a good word, but just bringing it up. Bringing up a topic like this is very, very important. Well, all of a sudden I've got to talk about something important with people that I'm usually very silly with. Well, yeah, it still needs to be done. And I was also thinking of how many, I'm sure we all look at the news or we have the news thrown at us one way or another. How many people are organizing negative things? And I mean truly deliberately and enthusiastically organizing negative things. This is very positive. And it does mean, again, we have to come out of our comfort zone and maybe do some things that we're just not used to doing, especially if you're not someone who's very social. This, like you said, I teach public speaking. This for me is very easy. Ask me to get in, have a conversation with someone that I'm not comfortable with the subject matter or don't have that kind of history with whoever that individual may be, and it becomes a lot more challenging, and I know, because I know some of you personally, I know for some of you that is not really that big a deal. It's like, what's the big deal? Well, for some people it's a big deal, and yet we still have to, again, make it a point to, I think, connect to how important this is and use that as a reason to, again, get outside of our comfort zone and bring up these conferences. I'll admit, even the word conferences, do you want to go to a conference?
Yeah. So the way that this sort of thing comes up to me for me is like, we do have guidance on this as well. Like we go right to the guidance, like where's the problem that we have? And then what does the guidance say about it? And one of the things that comes to mind immediately is practicing conversations that appear in Ruhi Book 2. Can you talk about what the Junior Youth Empowerment Program is with parents of junior youth? Can you do that with children, parents of children? How about the youth? Can you talk to youth in a way that they appear as contributory towards this process? Because it even says in the guidance right now that the youth are going to be the ones that are going to be spearheading this a lot of the time, because where is the energy located? Where is it? Who are the ones that have gone through some of these Ruhi's books, through these junior youth programs? Maybe some of the youth have not, but that's okay. There's a connection between the youth and the junior youth, just naturally. So I want to reiterate just this idea, a couple of things, right? This idea of where is, where is it that we can find out about how to have these conversations? And one of the places is book 2. And Alex, I believe you want to say something.
Yeah, I took my hand down there because it wasn't exactly on the subject that you're talking about there, Carlos. Book 2. A thought just popped in my head. This is just in regard to inviting people to attend. I thought, the program hasn't been set in stone yet. We're going to find out soon the start and stop time. And then we'll know when different subjects are going to be discussed throughout the day. So the thought that came to my mind right now was we could possibly, if people can't attend the whole day or the whole weekend, we might know people who would want to attend for the certain discussions of certain subjects. So that's something I've been struggling with, not struggling, but thinking about, is to invite people to a 2-day conference, sometime in the early morning to sometime late afternoon or evening. So it's just a thought that may be a way for people to participate. They could, sort of come and go for the events that they might like, or there might be some artistic event that we know is planned and that someone in particular would love that event. So that was the thought.
Yeah. For the arts, there's going to be music for sure. Probably both spontaneous and planned. There's going to be aspects of probably poetry. Actually, I know for a fact there will be poetry. There will be, some other, painting and this sort of thing. And a lot of the time what it's going to be is it's going to be in association with the writings. For the purpose of learning what is it that's being said, why is it being said that way, and how is it practically applicable to the current community. So all of those things, like what is it study, and then go towards this idea of how is it helpful for community.
So we have here a slide that we want to just share what Baha'is and those laboring alongside them are doing. That's what we really want to focus on. It's how can we as a community work together? We talked about inviting people, but people don't want to come to an event where they're invited and they don't know what they're doing. So it's extremely important that when we talk about things, that it's not about us trying to stage something to describe any story we just want to say, come in and join us or something. It's not what it's about. We're about doing something, and through what we're doing, inspiring others to join us. It's not really us asking in a very nebulous way. We don't know what we're doing. We want you to come and join us. We're gonna find out later. It's more, we're already doing something, and this is an evolving process. It's organically growing, and we want you to be a part of it. And we don't know what's going to be in the future, but you're going to make that happen with us, versus pretty much acting like we're selling something. We're not selling anything. We already have something that we're doing ourselves, and we want people to join us in the process, because we're doing something that's good for each other. We're doing something that's good for our society. And really, it's about service. We're serving one another. And not everyone's inspired to get up and serve, and that's okay. We're not asking that people change how they think already. We're asking like-minded individuals who already want to get up and serve to literally join in this process. And there's a lot of people out there, and we shouldn't just focus on changing anyone's mind at all. That's not at all what we're here to do either. We're not asking to change someone's mind to do something with us. We're asking to find people with common identity, common purpose, because we identify our identity is our purpose in our case. And if you, Carlos?
Oh yeah, no, I wanted to go ahead and read the.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just think that what's being, that the words of Baha'u'llah are usually
yes,
where the power comes from. The enkindled souls being raised, or even the head of the faith, Universal House of Justice. The enkindled souls being raised through the process of the plan are committed to the prosperity of all, recognizing that the welfare of individuals rests in the welfare of society. at large. They are focused on transcending differences, harmonizing perspectives, and promoting the use of consultation for making decisions. They emphasize qualities and attitudes such as trustworthiness, cooperation, and forbearance that are building blocks of a stable social order. They champion rationality and science as essential for human progress.
May I ask a question at this point, if that's all right?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So we have an app called Nextdoor. I don't know if there's an American equivalent. And it's
yes, we have one.
Yeah.
And one of our community members has actually suggested that, ironically enough. We haven't really looked into it as a community yet, but please, we would love to hear so we learn about this.
Well, I wanted to share, I joined because I like the idea of a national app, but which is very focused on individual communities. But you also see information on neighboring communities. And there's a lovely girl who, Sarah, who lives in Maidenhead, which is about 25 minutes away from me. And she started out on Nextdoor. She started out by posting about coming across a young lad who's homeless on the streets. And we all followed, and people joined in and helped. So she sort of really, from the grassroots, got up and said, I've just bumped in, I saw this young chap and I've spoken to him, and I think I want to help him. And because she was saying she wanted to help, other people got involved. Now, unfortunately, it didn't work out with that young chap, but what has come out of it is a community group of like-minded people wanting to help others in their community. So what I did was I touched base before I found out about what happened with Jake, and I said, how's things going? And I then, when she responded, I sent her a message saying, I'm sorry, it must be quite difficult when you've done something and you've committed time and resources, and other people have as well, by donating clothes and paying for food, paying for hotels. And this person was given accommodation and then used it for drug dealing and taking drugs and causing a lot of difficulties for both her and people around him. But anyway, the upshot of it is I told her about the Baha'i faith, and I said, this is a kind of thing that we do, and I think you're an exemplary member of society trying to make a difference to those who are the least, you have the least in our communities, and making opportunities. But I want to be able to say, maybe take it a bit further, because this is just the kind of person, I know she's not part of my Baha'i community, and she's not a Baha'i. I don't even know if she's got a faith, but she's somebody who is very passionate about helping others. How do I, that's obviously somebody that I think, what a bounty that would be to have someone like that in our faith. How would you go about sort of asking the questions, or maybe inviting to, say, the conference, because the other conference is open to people from the Baha'i faith and the community. Our conference, anyway, I'm assuming yours is the same.
Yeah, no, I think that that is actually something really, 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 really important, is that we're inviting people that are like-minded, and we find ways to have these important conversations with people. And I think that when we come to the practical portion of this session, which will be fairly soon, we can continue that sort of conversation. And Pedro, I believe you wanted to speak, yes?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, how you doing? I apologize for coming in so late. I just came in 5 minutes ago. But I'm not Baha'i or interested, but my interest will be in every religion. I study comparative religion, and I really like the Baha'i. I admire them because of the openness, the way that they treat women, the way that they believe in certain things that are the opposite of the biggest that we see in the world religion that we all know of, that I'm not going to mention, but that commits most of the terrorism in the world. But you guys are talking about the Baha'i, that they have a practice of helping the community. Is that what you're focusing on today?
Yes, so it's
Okay.
a systematic attack basically at the sources of problems for the society. So you see homelessness.
Yeah.
What is the actual
Okay.
source of the problem for that?
Yeah.
Addressing that.
Mhm. The family plays a crucial role in this problem. I
Mhm.
believe. Yeah.
It's interesting you
broken
mentioned
family.
that. It's interesting you mentioned the family. I think that someone actually asked to talk about this. I'll ask her to unmute if she wants to talk about the family. But as you mentioned, and as Sandra just mentioned, like Nextdoor is an application that she used to get in touch. Maybe the result of it wasn't what they planned, but she was able to meet with someone who had a common desire, common purpose, and now they have the opportunity to speak with one another and plan future steps to help serve their community together rather than separately in their own silos, separated from one another. Simone, you had a point to pull up about family involvement, because I know Pedro had mentioned it, but you messaged about this. Could you pitch in on Pedro's point, please?
Sure. Families are, as I go to many homes all the time. I see the families are divided. The children don't want to help the parents. Parents don't want to help the children. They think they are all independent. They raise their kids. When they're 18, they let them go. They don't care for the kids, what's going to happen next. And when it comes to a Baha'i family, or to be involved with our community, is to get the families connected together. And that's the main key, is that my son, when he went to school, he was one of the few say please and thank you to someone who was serving them food. And not many people do that.
Mm-hmm. No.
Many people, when you take them out and invite them, they don't even know how to say thank you. They eat and they leave. But my son is very polite. Every time anyone does, say please and thank you. Where did my son learn that from? From his mother and father, from grandma, grandpa. When that's something is also in the marriage and family, is that when the boy and the girl get married, they're not marrying just only girl and boy. They're marrying the whole family. So it's all comes, it's like organic, it's like a wine that goes around, that shows that we are all connected. So, and it all starts from the foundation, and the foundation is in the family.
Yes, and so, yeah, and actually, going off of that point, we talk about children's class and junior youth as 2 of the 4 core activities. And what those 2 programs aim to do is to look at children, to look at junior youth as basically as noble as that they can become, as good as human beings as they possibly can. And there's a program for establishing that. And using the arts, using the writings that Baha'u'llah has given us, all of these things put together.
It's for everyone to join in.
Yes.
It's not for Baha'is only. So you have people of different groups, different walks of life, creeds, ethnicities, caste systems, what have you, all joining in the process. And you have people who are not Baha'is even who are actually spearheading sometimes these processes.
Yep. And so now for the last portion of this, I wanted to start this at 12.
Can I say something to Sandra's point that she was asking before in reference to?
Yes. I would like to say that before this is, like when we're done with your point, Jim, we want to start transitioning into practical application of what, kind of thinking about what we have right now, who we are in contact with, and then moving on to talking about how we will actually reach out. Okay, so
just to make a brief comment on what Sandra said, she said that, about how this person got involved with trying to help this person and how the community helped around that. That's the perfect lead-in to getting this person involved in the conference, is saying that it's a bigger picture of the same process that she began. Even though she got stung on that particular situation, this is a group effort that more minds thinking together, working together to try to help solve these kind of problems. That's a quick answer to what I think that she was looking for.
And actually, I think that's...
Thank you. That was it. Perfect. Thank you.
That's actually perfect, because I think that was a practical example of like kind of what we're trying to do for like what are these doing, and or what these conferences are about, and like how do we invite people, So basically what we want to start thinking about right now is what, who do we know right now? What is the conference about? How do we invite effectively people to do this? Like let's give each other points and courage to go out and do. I believe, Sue, you had your hand raised first, and then Alice.
I will try to be very quick, but I too was interested, inspired by Sandra's point about the Nextdoor. I have my own little Nextdoor story. I joined Nextdoor soon after the pandemic started, with the idea of possibly finding others who were in need of help, who were in great dire straits because of the pandemic and so on. And I was, surprised, I guess, to see that it was mostly, do you know a good plumber? I need an electric, that kind of stuff, which there's a value to that too, for sure. But early, when we were promoting Race Amity Day, our group Advocates for Race Amity, one day, it was June 13th, I guess, it was the day before, somebody said, oh, tomorrow's Flag Day. Did you know it's Flag Day? And this is how you handle your flag and so on. And I thought, wow, what a perfect opening to say it's also Race Amity Day. And we are having a Race Amity celebration. And people are welcome to join us, and gave a contact number. I got somebody responded to that. It's a huge area, our Nextdoor. I mean, it's thousands of people. It's not just the neighborhood, certainly. And somebody said, yes, I'm interested. Let me know. Turned out this is a young woman who was less than 10 minutes walk from my house in my neighborhood. And she now has become the person who's done a website, or she's done a blog for our Race Amity group, Advocates for Race Amity. And she's coming to the meetings, and she came to where we had a table at the African American Heritage Festival. Anyway, it was a nice success story in using the Nextdoor, and I think that we could make more use of that app. That's it.
Awesome. Alice.
I listened to Charmaine. I think most of us don't have brown or people to invite to the conference. And I'm not gonna, if you don't have any by now, it's just that it just is. But I know I have neighbors. I can't believe you have not talked to any of your neighbors. And those are the people I would start with. I wouldn't make it hard for myself. And then around me are other people I run into quite often. So it's not as challenging as we're making it. You can't be outward reaching to anyone in a community without talking to your neighbors, no matter who they are.
Thank you, Alice. Kathy.
As most of the people on the screen that I see know who are familiar with our community, we have a beautiful Baha'i Center, but it's not where we're going to be holding the event. And the biggest reason is because we need 2 days of space for children and junior youth, and going all the way down to infants and toddlers. And we needed a space that was green and had a good playground and so forth. It was easy to take them outside. And so this is, it's important to remember this is really for families, not just individuals. So when you invite somebody, you should invite a family, not just the individual, because the children also need to have the vision of raising up themselves and their community, and to do it in concert with their families. And some of the stories that have come out of communities that have already held the conferences have talked about how wonderful it was to be so oriented to families doing an art project together, families taking part in this as a group. And so that is going to be a big part of it, and something that will be a very different approach when you use the word conference. It's not babysitting we're offering. We want everyone fully integrated, no matter their age. And so we have a wonderful site that will be very conducive to even small children spending 2 full days there.
Yeah, definitely. All people are, we're going to try to accommodate. The thing that I want to mention is that this is not a one-time thing.
Right.
The thing we have to think about is that these sorts of conferences will be continual. This process is not something that is going to die. This is something that we have been doing and we're going to continue to do, and we have to be sustained. It has to be something which is sustainable, something that we continually do. And from there, it will expand because there is that level of sustainability. So we did want to show another video, but Sandra, if you could go ahead and say what you were going to say.
I wanted to share something because this is my reality. I'm a disabled Baha'i. I have a lot of problems with mobility. So for me, even just getting to 5 houses down the road is very difficult. So I think social media and such is very good for outreach when you're alone in an area and you want to engage. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, and it's not a criticism, it's just a point, is that the conference that's for my area, it's being held in a center which is not disabled adapted, which means I can't attend. So one of the things I think is quite important going forward is that we remember that unity in diversity also speaks to the diversity amongst abilities. So not just people that are mobility disabled, but perhaps have got sight, can't see, or people that are can't hear, in what I would like to say, other abilities. And I just wanted to raise that point, because it's important to feel included in a world where a lot of the time you feel excluded and overlooked.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's important that you mentioned this accessibility. We want to discuss this as well, that we're going to be offering for our conference. We're planning on offering, as we best are able, a Zoom component where we will be allowing those who are not able to attend for various reasons at the site. We're having them to come and join us on Zoom. Now, this will be occurring at the Service Learning School, which is a local location that is for our local conference. But we'll get to that towards the end of this. But yes, it's definitely essential to think about accessibility. And we are, in our capacity, trying to do that Zoom component where those who just physically can't make it for various reasons, we would like to try to help make that happen. Now, Jeremiah here has put up a video, which we're going to start. I think that everyone should contemplate what we're going to see here.
Yeah, and for the practical aspect of these sorts of things is, again, this video is about the youth. And looking to youth not as someone that we teach, but that we accompany. This is something that, yes, we need to learn these things, and yes, you have experience, but please, the youth need to be able to do these things on their own, to learn, to make mistakes. And, I think 10.1 talks about this beautifully for those of us that are Baha'i.
Well, co-workers.
Yeah. But it talks about accompaniment and letting people learn on their own and this sort of thing. Anyway, go ahead, Jeremiah.
And these conferences are called specifically to launch us for the next series of a global effort for the betterment of the world.
Vibrant communities through more dialogue, through having more inclusive discussions, and through following a path of service.
Thank you, Kathy, for bringing up this point. Kathy said in the chat that fortunately in Florida, with its large elderly population, many buildings are one floor and accessible, but it is important not to take that for granted. The location for the conference as a school is accessible. The Baha'i Center is also. So it is something that Sandra, you brought up. Thank you for that as well. But thinking about these things, I think maybe is, being more mindful of it.
We're being mindful also of people's different dietary needs as well. I mean, that's another aspect of being mindful and making things possible, particularly when you have people over 2 full days. So anyway, it's all good. We're trying to be inclusive. Yeah, transportation is something we'll have to consider as well. Yeah.
And Jeremiah, if you could please pull up the other video that we had also prepared. This is the last of the videos. Of course, there's other content that we invite you all to look at, but we would like to, as a matter of taking a glimpse of what these conferences are and seeing from other communities, we can really picture in our community with our capacities what we are able to provide. And this means not just those of us who are present right now, but those of us who are watching this on YouTube and on Facebook. We would really appreciate your contributions. And of course, if you want to reach out, that's not a problem. We just would love you to do so, and we can get to work together.
So before Jeremiah, you get to that, I'd like people to be thinking about, like, can these conferences occur? Can they really be something that is a reality without being outward thinking? So be thinking about that, and in your heart, think about ways, hey, how am I going to invite people, in a genuine way?
Conferences aim to prepare all those well-wishers of humanity who are engaged in and committed to building vibrant communities as we prepare to enter a new stage in our endeavour.
Thank you, Jeremiah, so much for sharing that. And as you all see, there is the logistics for our conference. There's various iterations you saw on the screen just now of many different ways to do these global conferences as they're going on, and they will be held across the world. So right now, our website that we have available is buildingpinellas.com, buildingpinellas.org. Pinellas is spelled Pinellas, buildingpinellas.org. And of course, right now we're hosting this video through Clearwater Bahá'ís. Of course, clearwaterbaha'is.org has this under the activities tabs where you can access these resources for these global conferences. And as you're aware, we had shared some beautiful material that was on our screen throughout this talk today with one another, this middle mini conference, if you will. And there's a lot of materials on the PDF, which you can also download. For example, we have this beautiful, beautiful video called Glimpses of 100 Years of Endeavor. And of course, it'd be nice to watch it now, but it is a movie. And for that reason, we recommend you to definitely visit this PDF, click on this YouTube link and watch the movie. You could also just look up the term on YouTube and find it there just as easily. But this is a reflection on the distance that the Baha'i community has traversed, has really progressed through this last 100 years since 1921 until 2021. How has this community grown, evolved, and gained the capacity to really assist our wider community, and most importantly, work together and mobilize each other?
I encourage everybody to, for the invitations, if you need accompaniment with that, reach out to the community. If we feel afraid, we should be getting together, praying, and then going to have some sort of accompaniment in this process. We need to make sure it's organic, that it's genuine, people we know. Or maybe even sometimes we find people that we don't know that want to be a part of this.
Pedro, for example, yourself, you've come here, you've been able to hear about the conferences, and as we're developing what we are doing locally, we would love the contributions of people such as yourself who want to talk about how we can be active in our community, in serving our community, where you'd be willing to work with the people in this community and do something in your capacity. And likewise, we all have a collective capacity. Everyone has very unique contributions that we can make. And it's not about trying to say, this is what we need to do, and if you don't have the capacity, get there. We're right now trying to look at what capacities we do have and what people commonly want to achieve together with what we may already be doing. How can we help existing efforts become better? How can we improve where someone's asking really for help? It's not about trying to insert ourselves either. We want to find where organically things are growing, where assistance is really desired, and we work with one another to see that better development together. And likewise, this conference will be on May 14 and May 15. This will be a Saturday and Sunday, May 14 and May 15. And in lieu of having a program as we typically do on Sundays at 11 a.m., where we have these learning sessions, we would be having a coverage of this conference on at least the Sunday, and Jeremiah, if you volunteer for the Saturday. But we plan on definitely sharing this conference on this page, clearwaterbaha'is.org, on the YouTube, on the Facebook, and we also plan on sharing it with the friends on the global scale, where we are welcome. Everyone's welcome to take these videos and share them on their own pages. This is the community's content. It's not exclusive to us. This is a public initiative for the public welfare. And we really want to have the public's input and the public's assistance as we find our common purpose and explore it together in service, not just talking about things. With that being said, we understand that, I think, Kathy, you had your hand raised. Am I correct, or am I remembering wrong?
The only thing I would say is that this is a conversation. We can't finish it today, and it will be going on for a very long time, and we will be developing new aspects of it with each time.
So wait. Are you saying that it doesn't end on May 15? So it's not just the May 14 and May 15?
No, we won't have a perfect world on May the 16th.
All right.
Yes.
So that means this is the beginning. These conferences are not just an event. We're going to have follow-ups. We're going to have other meetings, right?
But not just meetings, action. We need ways to accompany ourselves. We need ways to come together and sort of assess what's been happening, and brainstorming as to how to go better, how to do better, and constant referral back to guidance, and keeping always in front of us the vision. And one of the things that hasn't been brought up, but I think it would be very helpful for everyone, is not just to look at the letters from the House of Justice, to go back and look at the letters that Shoghi Effendi wrote during a very difficult period of mankind in the 1930s, which we call the World Order letters, where he gives the vision of what we're trying to achieve in the world, how the world will be heaven on earth if we carry out the teachings of Baha'u'llah. And that's another good thing to study in preparation for this.
Thank you. This is extremely valuable. You mentioned this. And thank you everyone who's been commenting in the chat. Oh, Alice, please, you have your hand raised.
I just wanted to say, we know we don't know everything. That's why we're inviting people from outside of us.
Yep.
They may know something that we don't know.
Right.
So Alice, if I may say, because you actually hit it on the head here. So this humble posture of learning, how are we going to learn together? Simone, you raised your hand, yes?
We can learn together by opening our hearts. And also, I had one other comment, is that we are covering the people with the computer access or internet. We need to have flyers made, and my sister hands them out. She can hand them out by the pier, and I can do that. And also, if we want to have a task force or few people that want to get together by downtown St. Pete at Bahá'í Center, and we can go to in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they have lots of people at the downtown St. Pete. We can hand those invitations out and talk to them.
So you want to know something funny? You are on the task force.
Yeah. So,
okay, I am in task force. But I would love to do that. If we need to have full flyers, I would be willing to print them out and give it to whoever wants to give it out to their neighbors. That would open up the doors. That would be easier to communicate if in case they have not talked to their neighbors before.
Yes.
And also downtown St. Pete, right now we have had many seekers because of my sister handing out just only prayers of Baha'u'llah to the people. And I've seen people stop and they talk about Baha'i faith, or they said they have heard about Baha'i faith before. So it's downtown St. Pete is a marvelous area, marvelous place to go down to and teach the faith.
Yeah, so Jim had to actually get off, but Jim actually yesterday we were discussing these subjects. Yeah. Jim and Bonnie locally North Pinellas, they had met with other members of the community, and they were talking about getting these flyers out as well. So the Pinellas community has been looking at this and making flyers. So there's nothing wrong with making copies of flyers, because probably if we're going to really be sharing it, we won't have enough. So it's always good to have the contributions of our fellow community members who will make their own flyers. We just will ask that we reflect the material that is on the website, the buildingpinellas.org, buildingpinellas.com as well, .com and .org interchangeable here. Please try to reflect that material. And yes, we do want to share this paper. We want to share this online, of course, as you covered, but also there's so many other venues in person we can share. And we thank you for bringing that up. Yes, that is a very practical thing. Yes. I do want to say now that we've got to this point, it's a good time for us to close out, where we've really discussed the heart of this, and we really want to now move on with our next sessions where we're going to be planning this conference. And now those of you who have attended, who have thought about who's in our community that we can also invite, hopefully in the next few days, you can engage those people and we can start planning together with all of these people. So we're going to be parting ways for now, but we'll be getting back together shortly. And those of you who are watching this on YouTube and on Facebook, we definitely welcome you if you end up visiting our community to participate in these conferences. But we urge you to get involved in your own local community where you have your own local conferences. And those, if you have a trouble accessing who your local friends are, we will give this link for you. You can always call them too, but the link is Bahá'í.us, BAHAI.us. In this website, you can go, someone will chat with you even live, who will assist you to get in touch with your own community. Now, as to the Baha'i community, to give a phone call, please call the Baha'i National Center. And I will give this phone number now, 1-800-22-UNITE. The number is 1-800-22-UNITE, as it's spelled on your keypad on the phone. So again, thank you all for joining us today. We thank you on behalf of the Pinellas community. We thank you for joining us. And again, www.baha'i.us. For those of you who are joining us outside this community, we thank you for visiting with us today. Good day, everyone.